we got Cody with us here. Episode 3. All right. So Cody, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good, just working on my motorcycle.
That's right. You're showing me. How's that
Yeah,
coming along?
pretty good. I mean, got probably another month on it, building it from the
Month?
ground. So,
You're like working on it every day.
yeah, I mean, I'm basically building it from the ground up and buying everything and stripping. I got to clean the carbs, and that takes like a long time.
What's the motorcycle again? What's
Uh,
the?
1974 Honda CB 750, and I'm turning it into a cafe racer.
Okay. I don't know too much about that, but it sounds pretty cool.
Should be pretty cool.
Do you
Should
plan
look.
on riding it this summer, I guess?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get it done.
I guess when you're waiting the bike helmet, that's like a pretty good coronavirus stoppage, right?
Yeah, I would say so. Plus, going like 100 miles an hour on the highway would stop anything, right?
Like I think so, or it just goes right in your face, right? It coughs out of the window, it just hits your
Yeah,
nose.
we could do that too.
You'll be okay. You get the
Yeah.
helmet.
I'll get a full face helmet so that it
There
just,
you go. Get the full face, get the leather jacket.
yeah,
It'd be cool if you were riding around in like a full like protection suit, you know?
yeah. Just a hazmat suit on a motorcycle.
That'd be a great like movie right there, hazmat motorcycle warrior, you know?
Yeah, you're gonna make it with Dan.
And you're working, you said, right? So you're
Yeah,
back
I'm
at
working.
work. So we're in end of May here, and things seems like things are opening back up again in Michigan.
Yeah, it seems that way. It's kind of like, I mean, I've been working for over a month now, so it's not that I'm not taking precautions, but it seems like it's not even happening anymore. People are being so stupid that it's like the world's opening back up, or at least America is. For some
Right.
reason.
Because you can't see it, it's hard to think that it's real.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I know it's real. I just,
But you have to remind yourself.
yeah, I definitely have to remind myself at this point. You know, I'm like, oh shit. Well, I mean, I haven't seen any friends or anything, but, you know, just working every day, I'm like, wait, what's going on? You know, like,
Yeah,
this is the whole thing. Okay.
still
And then,
happening out there, you know. Can't
yeah,
go to the bar, you know.
can't go to the bar.
No
I was
show.
drinking too much in quarantine, anyways.
So, you know, this whole thing with streaming, how do you feel about that? Streaming music.
I mean, I'm fine with it. I mean, I've only done, I think, like 3 actual hardware live sets, but the rest have been DJ sets. And it's, for me, it's just like practice and like, you know, it just kind of still makes it seem like I'm doing stuff, even if it's not actually real, I guess. I don't know. People are tuning in, which is nice, but
Well,
I have
it's
no problem
the
with
nature
it.
of feedback is different there, isn't it? You know.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I kind of like the feedback because like I'll rewatch my set or whatever. I'll mute it because I already know what I played, but like I'll just like look at the comments and what people are saying. Obviously, they're having like separate conversations, and that's funny and stuff. But like when people are saying they like what I'm doing or like playing, it's nice to actually hear that rather than like. I mean, it's not like every show. A ton of people are coming up to me and are like, "Hey, great set." That doesn't really happen, you know. But with
No.
this live stream stuff, it's like kind of more prevalent, even if it's not in person. You know, you're still seeing what people are thinking. To
Yeah,
a point.
seeing which tracks are hot.
Yeah, especially for DJing, it's
Yeah.
like, oh, he's playing cool tracks. Like, oh, okay, cool. Like people are in the tracks that I'm playing. You know,
Yeah. So
that's
you've been
nice.
doing the weekly thing at the Square Wave. You say wave or wave? Wow.
Square Wave, I think. Square Wave.
Square Wave Productions Twitch stream. So yeah, you're doing Friday nights. And you said you
I'm
did
doing
it.
Fridays. You're doing Thursdays, right?
Yeah, I'm doing Thursdays. I'm not much of a DJ, but I don't know. I do it a
You
little
doing
bit.
what?
Doing it a little bit. I've been playing a lot of low res records because I feel like that's a unheard, you know,
I mean, no one
body
plays
of
low
work.
records, so that's good.
Yeah, it's an
Like,
unheard body of work that I think is worth getting out there, especially in these times. It seems like more relevant now.
yeah.
So, um, so tell me how you got into music production in general.
Uh, Started in high school. I mean, I was using GarageBand. Well, first I like started with making noise and shit like that in high school, and I was like, this is cool. I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm gonna try and record it in GarageBand. Obviously, I was redlining everything because I was just like, had no idea about what I'm doing, what to do, or what I was doing, or what to look up, even, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just fucking around with like pedals and like a Casio electronic keyboard, you know, and just running it through that. Like I did not know what the fuck I was doing. But
My first, you know, tape experiments were with a Casio SK1, which is
yeah,
a little sampler thing, and you can sample, a couple of seconds of thing into it and loop it. So I would
yeah.
just do that and 4-track it, So I'm familiar with that.
I mean, I when I was a young kid, I was fucking with like tape machines, you know, because my parents had them, and like recording my voice, and that's, you know, that was fun. But I never like attributed it to music until I got into noise, and then I realized like, I mean, I knew about tapes obviously because of punk bands and shit like that, but like I didn't know about looping and stuff like that until I got into noise, and I was like, oh, you can make loops and
Mm-hmm.
play with a 4-track and fuck around, and then, you know, just experimenting and moving forward and trying to push myself, and then slowly, you know, like wanting to learn how to make techno or industrial music, and just kept pushing. I don't know.
So
It's kind of
about
a
at
weird
what point did you
progression.
switch from software to hardware?
Uh, I was never really like, I never started with software.
You mentioned GarageBand, so I guess.
Well, like just for recording, you know, because I had
Okay,
no idea about a DAW or what to record with besides like into tapes, you know. But that's,
sure.
so I was using GarageBand to record, but then I finally got Ableton to record, and then I didn't really know what else to do in Ableton besides like fuck with FX or something and like mix my tracks. But other than that, I had no idea about like making full tracks in it until a couple years ago, and now I just integrate that with my like hardware by making my own sounds and then putting them into my Octatrack, you know.
So at this point, do you feel that Ableton's is a better environment to compose or the Octatrack?
I like composing in the Octatrack. Ableton is mainly for sound design for me. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I'll make full tracks in Ableton, but it's not that fun, and I get very into a groove where I just like repeat the same process, you know, and that's boring to me because I feel like everything sounds the same after a while, and I can't get into that. And so typically what I do is I'll make like a full track in Ableton, and then I'll send the stems, and then I'll create a different track in the Octatrack with this sounds that I made in Ableton.
So kind
And
of
that's like
remixing
more of
your
a
own.
recording process, I would say.
So you're remixing your own material in a way.
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It's fun to do. I mean, the Octatrack is insanely powerful.
You got two of them, right?
Yeah, I have two. That's
If you were to add another piece of gear, would it be a third Octatrack?
no, it wouldn't be. Two is enough for me. If I was to introduce anything, it would be like a modular rig made for like sound design. But other than that, I don't think I would even use it live if I was
Mm.
to have a modular rig. It's strictly Octatrack. That's the only thing that really makes sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, you can put all the stuff in it and then just play it, right? That's the.
Yeah, I mean, it's I don't know. I know a lot of people have a hard time with it for some reason. And I mean, I guess I did too at the beginning of owning one, but after a while, I was just, it's the only, I had like 5 different Electron devices and
Right, I remember those.
kept graduating to the Octatrack, and, I just kept slowly playing with that more and more and more. And then I was like, why don't I just try and do a whole set on just the Octatrack? And I did it, and I was like, why do I need anything else? And I sold it all and kept the Octatrack.
Interesting. And now that's your instrument.
Yeah, I mean, one for drums and one for synth.
That's the breakdown.
Yeah.
For live.
One's all my synth stuff because there's only 8 tracks in the Octatrack, and one's all my drums and sounds and samples and loops, whatever I make.
I like that you care about sound design a little more, it seems like, than a lot of other people. Because a lot of producers seem to just gravitate towards the, it's like a 909 kick through distortion or whatever, which is, it's fine.
It sounds cool, yeah.
It sounds cool, but you're doing a little bit different. So you're like layering kicks and, trying to create your own sound. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been interested in creating my own sounds. Like, sound design for me is the most important thing. Like, creating, sure, like a 909 can have like you can sound cool, or you can make it sound cool, but to me, I would rather have 10 kicks on top of each other, obviously not blown out, but to make one whole different kick that doesn't sound like anything else, and have it big and have it crunchy and have it hit hard all in the same, just by layering. I don't know. It's never, I owned a Electron analog rhythm, and
right.
It just didn't cut it. Like, having just the bass drum on that, it just didn't cut it. I would layer the machine drum kick on top of that, and then I would also have one in my Octatrack, and it would be all 3 on top of each other, making a whole different kick. And I was like, this is where it's at. It's not just one.
Yeah, I agree with that. People ask me why I need 5 drum machines.
Yeah,
I really don't. I could just sample them, but it's something about layering the frequencies that way live, So.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been super inspired by Empty Set and their sound design, and like ever since I like found out about them, and actually a bunch of Roster Naughton stuff, however you say that, Roster Naughton, I don't know, but all that stuff is very sound design. Like, it's not, you don't hear it and you're like, oh, that's a 909 or that's a 303 or I know what that is, that's a Hydra synth or whatever the fuck. It's like, really, you're like, what is that? How do I make that? And it makes you want to make things, and that's what I've like always been inspired by. And I think Empty Set really molded me into that. Same with like Ryoji Ikeda and like Tommy 47, honestly, he's kind of like that. You don't even know where he gets his sounds from.
Very thick sound.
Yeah,
I played one of his tracks last time I played, I guess. But yeah, he's got that very thick sound. Actually, it reminds me of your stuff.
Yeah, I actually read an interview, and he apparently uses field recordings. Like, he'll just like carry a Tascam field recorder around. I might be botching this whole interview up, but like, he just uses those samples and sounds and like creates like drums out of them, or synths and so on, which is like which I've done before too, and it's really inspiring because it's like found sounds, that are making a whole dance track, which is cool, rather than dance machines,
Yeah, I feel like that's in the nature of what industrial music is about. the
Oh,
sam
definitely.
the sampling aspect, right?
Yeah.
The kind of the environment around you, which just happens to be industrial in our case, you know. Uh,
Yeah.
to that end, do you feel like you working in Detroit and being part of the actual workforce in the industrial world, does that contribute to some kind of conceptualization as far as like maybe in sound design, but also like the structure of the tracks?
Uh, Maybe not structure, but definitely sound design. So like I field record stuff at my work as an electrician.
Right.
And like being around heavy machinery, doing like underground electrical for big job sites. I'm around, like excavators and skid steers and all types of drills and saws and so on. Like those sounds, or I'll be in a boiler room or something, doing some electrical, and I just hear sounds. Like I've done that when I worked in the Detroit public schools doing data wiring. I was always in the basements hearing how these like 100-year-old schools are like running with all these old pieces of equipment, and that shit really inspired me. I'd record a lot of those things and then put those into music. That kind of stuff inspires me. That definitely in my day-to-day work.
It's like the mood of it, I suppose.
Yeah, like just hearing those things, I'm like, that would be cool if it looped a million times.
Sure. Yeah, just scoop that little snippet of what I just heard.
Exactly.
Uh,
That's what I love about like rhythmic noise too, is that it's like a similar thing. Rhythmic noise into techno is like one of my favorite things, I think, right now, especially. It's like power noise, essentially.
where do you see the progression of that style of music going? Or can we just keep it in that realm where it's at now?
I mean, I'd say it's not extremely subversive, but it's subversive enough to where it's going to stay in that realm for a while. With the exceptions, obviously, but I mean that's what I try to do with my music. Is like lately, at least, is make it super noisy and rhythmic and like just hypnotizing to a point and keeping it there, at that hypnotizing level without being too crazy where it's just like over the top.
Yeah, it's a good. You seem to have a good balance between minimalism and then the full on. You know,
I try to. I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, how do you like this track, person? And then they're like, that you need to add 10 other things. I'm like, but I
well,
like
that's
how.
not. That's the. That's an interesting. To fill up that audio spectrum. If you do that, then ultimately it's not good for DJing, right?
Oh, totally. Yeah. It's too chaotic and you can't mix that track out or in.
Yeah, so do you make your tracks in thinking about what the DJ is going to do with them? Because they seem to tend themselves well to, a techno industrial DJ sound,
Yeah. I
what
mean,
they would do.
I definitely keep it in mind, but it doesn't, not all the time does it like drive me to make tracks for a DJ by any means. Like I keep it in mind, but at the same time, I want to do what I want to do,
Sure.
and more so it be an album than here's an album for all DJs to be able to play. That's not. It's more like I like the music. It's not for
Sure,
the
but
DJ.
there's just that sensibility that I guess you keep in the back of your head where,
Yeah, I mean, I have to obviously because I play gigs and stuff, and I keep that
right,
in mind. It can't just be fucking noise, which I've done, and that gets boring.
then they
But
clear the room out there.
yeah, I don't like clearing the room out. I like people enjoying it, but at the same time, this music is for me, and that's why I make it
Well,
disgusting sounding.
I feel like adding the kick to it, to the noise, right? It seems to be the formula for the party rocking there, you know.
Oh yeah, I mean you can add a
Sound
huge
pretty.
kick with distortion and noise and so on and chaos, and then people will still dance to it. But it's
Yeah.
got to be that right formula, I guess.
Yeah, there's something to it where you can kind of lead them into Valhalla there, you know, whatever it is.
Yeah,
You're like, all right, I'm gonna here's
follow me into the destruction.
yeah, here's this crazy thing, but there's a dance beat, so you know,
Yeah, there's a hi hat.
there's a there's things you can recognize, but then that's
Yeah, that's why I'm actually like heavily inspired lately by my friend Exome, which like I don't ever hear him have a snare typically in his music, which I don't do either. But
you do a little bit, and you have like those noise burst snares.
yeah, occasionally, but they're never in my head. They're never like, oh,
That's a
snare
snare sound, yeah.
5 and 7 or whatever the fuck, 5 and 13. Uh, I don't ever keep that in mind. I don't like those. I mean, I like tracks that are like that, but it's not for me. But back to like my friend Exome, his stuff is chaotic with like the noise to the point where it's really hypnotic and you don't need any of that stuff. You're finding those sounds in his like weird distorted rhythms that the kick is like making flow, and which is like rhythmic noise or power noise, and I love that sound.
Yeah, the whole snare versus not snare thing is pretty interesting. I love the snare, but there's definitely something, it fills up a mid-range frequency where
Yeah,
that could be taken up by a lot of those things. And when you distort the kick, of course, it's almost like
yeah.
heavy snare anyway, right? So
I like my kicks to fill that spectrum. That's why I
yeah,
make them so big, is because I don't need a snare because I've got this huge kick, and I don't like a snare anyways.
yeah. Well, it's the whole rock and roll idea behind it. It's like, well, what are the drums? Well, it's this drum set, but it's like you're working with a sampler. It doesn't have to be anything.
Yeah, it can be anything you want, which is the best part.
You're, you're not a band unless you have a guitarist, all right? So, um, it's yeah. So I've heard you make ambient music. So like your ambient compositions, I really like the stuff behind the kick, and I've heard you make stuff that was almost like more melodic and more ambient. Is that something that you're still doing?
Oh man, I haven't done it in like, I would say, a year. I mean, I do it with my friend Dominic sometimes, not in a while, but yeah, I was doing ambient music for a while, and I like doing it. I like the pretty sound. I like I like being on this side and then having this side as well. And I don't really want them to come together by any means. Maybe I do in my drones, but my ambient stuff is way more, I would say, pretty and romantic to a point, and also hypnotic. I keep that in mind, but I haven't done it in a while. I don't know why. I just have been focusing on techno, I guess, or whatever
Yeah,
the fuck
well,
you call it.
let's go through phases. I mean, you're definitely like cultivating your sound, which I think uh, it's interesting when people have a successful project and they just keep doing that project, that same sound. Uh,
Yeah,
which I don't. It's nothing wrong with it, but it's in a way, you just get into that thing where you make the same track because that's what people like. But
yeah. I'm not about that. I don't like that at all. I hope I never get to that point where I found something that everyone likes and I'm going to keep doing it. I want to keep pushing myself for
yeah,
me.
you're developing your style, you know. But like looking back at it now, it seems like the stuff that you play throughout your life is that style you're going towards. That's just you. you know.
Yeah, definitely.
Like there, and it's pretty fascinating to watch different people if they keep working on stuff, they have this cultivation of sound that is the expression of them, you know,
Yeah, definitely.
like what sequence you gravitate to, what sound design you gravitate to, and you know.
I would say there's not that many people like that nowadays. Or at least I haven't found them. I mean, I know people that are like that, but a lot of people nowadays with the music scene, I would say, find what is popular and try to do that. Instead of creating something, like you said, like for yourself or your cultivation of sound, which is you know, you can hear a lot of artists, you can hear like them in their music besides, oh, that's just another EBM track. Oh, that's just another house track. You know, it's more so them. Like I'll bring back Tommy 47. You can hear him in all of his music.
Yeah.
You don't hear, oh, that's Tommy 47 making an EBM track or whatever the fuck. It's like, that's him. That's his sound. That's what he has expressed himself as, and is continuing to do so while pushing the limits. You know, it doesn't, he may change like certain things, certain sounds, but like it's forever him. Like you can hear it.
Yeah, and that bothers me a little bit sometimes too, because I would like to approach, I'd like to like erase sometimes my previous experience, and like what if you just started somewhere else, you know. But at the same time, you know, it is what it is, you know. But to that end, like what would an artificial intelligence sound like, you know, making music?
Gallimaria.
Yeah.
if you've heard his stuff, I mean,
I have, but I don't know. But I mean, like,
sounds like robots fucking, and it's pretty cool.
yeah, that might be. So that might be like the sound that the AI comes up with.
I swear it sounds like that. I don't know. I mean, if an AI came up with music that was cool as fuck, then I'd probably listen to it. But
If would you like it as much as if a person came up with it?
no, I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I think we have a prejudice against the machines.
I mean, you gotta. If you've seen Terminator, you have to. I mean,
Yeah, but there's this other romantic notion, the Kraftwerk, you know, brought into kind of popular consciousness, and through Detroit techno, they got extended, which is like the machines are our friends, you know.
yeah,
But at what point does that then the machine just makes music by itself? And I mean, that's what, in a way, that like that's where a lot of sequencing is going, like the electron stuff, where you can have, you know, all these complicated things in a sequencer, the you know, the hits being semi-random, or you know,
yeah, or like the probability
yeah, the
control.
probability stuff, you know, hit every third or hit every, you know, whatever it is, you know, 50% chance of this hit. That's the kind of stuff I was thinking about, you know, in the late 90s. I was like, man, it would be cool if
Yeah,
I wrote some software where it would do that, but somebody did, you know. So, but that's like, still we have a semblance of control over it. You know, if you had an AI analyze all the Veldt tracks and then write a Veldt track for you.
oh, I don't know if I would like that.
I
It would probably sound like dog shit.
don't know.
All of them.
But that's what, yeah, like look at your material, you know, analyze it and write something like it, you know. I mean,
Man, if it did that,
you're
I
like,
don't know. I can't. I don't like that. I don't like the thought of like. I mean, I'm into maybe randomizing. You know, like AI's randomizing things to. You can still do this in software,
sure.
obviously, but Sonic Charge makes a lot of like different plugins you can randomize, which is cool, but you have the control to randomize that. But if like an AI did it, man, I don't know. It just like would take away like what's the point of music if it's not a human expression? I don't know.
Yeah,
I can't get behind.
there's a line, right? It's a
Yeah, I mean,
metaphysical
didn't
line.
Holly Herndon do that?
What's that?
Didn't Holly Herndon do that?
I'm not sure.
One of her most recent albums, I believe, was written like by software that she created that was like AI written. Like she put in like these factors or whatever, and then had the AI write her songs.
Yeah.
And she used a robot voice, like that. It's a robot singing some of the songs that she's doing, like literally from the computer. Man, I'm not. I saw it once, so I'm just going off my brain, which is not that good. But
But
I remember reading that, thinking that was pretty crazy. But at the same time, there's some like we're not advanced enough to the point where the AI was completely making the track. It was more so her input, into following this algorithm that would eventually make the track.
Yeah,
but if the AI did it, then I wouldn't really call that Holly Herndon,
Right. It's not truly completely autonomous there. It's software that she created.
Exactly. Which is cool. I can get behind that. It's just, I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. That line is elusive. Like, at what point do you say that the AI created the music and not yourself?
Exactly. Which, I mean, what are we, fans of? Then we follow the machines. That's when we follow the machines into the fucking hell that we created. I don't know. Once we start following AI pop stars, and what are we in, Black Mirror?
Well, kind of, yeah. With this pandemic thing, it certainly seems like we've entered a Black Mirror.
Yeah, which season is this? 4?
I don't know. It's the later season.
I
heard that the Black Mirror guy doesn't want to make any more episodes because this is too real right now. He's like,
he probably shouldn't, because of his Miley Cyrus one where she had like a hole.
Oh, I heard that. What did you think of that?
I did not like it. I don't like Miley Cyrus, and that episode sucked. It was not Black Mirror. I don't know.
I don't think I watched the episode. I just heard the song, but it was okay at best.
I don't know. I get what they were doing, but it was stupid. And
the verdict is in.
I mean, Hannah Montana should have died a long time ago. That's pretty harsh. I don't know.
That's okay. You can be harsh. You're from Detroit.
Yeah, I can be hating Billy Ray. I like Billy Ray Cyrus. I hate Miley Cyrus.
Billy Ray Cyrus is totally different.
Yeah, but he created that monster.
Yeah. Did he? No.
Well, it's his child. I don't know.
I don't know. But
he put her on Disney, and look what happened.
Yeah.
9 Inch Nails was brought into a Black Mirror episode that sucked, and that was the worst season ever.
Yeah, I haven't really kept up with that show. I watched the first couple of seasons.
Yeah, I mean, I watched
I think it was a
couple episodes of the last season, and I was like, okay, this is done. Like, they should not ever make this ever again.
Well, science fiction is a hard. There's so much sci-fi out now on TV, but not a lot of it is great.
No, it's not.
It's hard to find good sci-fi, but also like writing sci-fi now. I guess Black Mirror is, dealing with these near future themes.
They were.
They were.
But they they were in the first couple seasons, and you were like, this is crazy. I wonder if this is going to happen. And it's happening now. So they don't ever need to do it ever again because they literally created this universe right now. Like this social media platform episode where you get rated or like you get rated and then like if you keep getting good ratings, then like you're able to do things, you know, and then
that's happening in China, right?
It's happening in China, but it's also happening with like essentially Discogs, Uber, like anything that you can get like a bad rating on.
Yeah.
You can be like defunct. Like I don't whatever the word is, I can't think right now, but like
terminated.
I mean, essentially, like if you get a bad rating on Uber, no one's gonna pick you up, and you're gonna have to create a fake account or some shit like that. And same with Discogs, no one will sell to you if you have a bad rating.
I almost got in a fight with an Uber driver a couple months ago.
What happened?
Me and Justin were hanging out, and we got really drunk, and we were waiting for an Uber in Ferndale.
Yeah.
And we got in the wrong car, and we're like outside of this after hours or whatever.
Yeah.
We lost.
Sorry, that's my battery.
And he picked us up, and then we realized we were in the wrong car. But he like didn't ask us who we were or anything, you know.
Yeah.
And he's like, get out of the car, you know. And we didn't want to get out. We're like, well, bring us back to where you got us, because our Uber is coming now.
That's funny.
And yeah.
Then you kicked his ass?
Nobody got hurt. No. Nobody kicked anybody's ass. But he was, you know, he seemed like pretty aggressive. Oh, look at this nice background you have. Where are you at right now?
I'm in Holly. This is at my dad's shop.
Why don't you show us around a little bit? Show us the bike. You're showing.
Actually, you want to?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Okay, I'll flip the camera around.
Okay.
Here's the laboratory.
Mm-hmm.
Dexter's lab.
Getting a little dose of Detroit, everybody. All right, here we go.
Yeah. Yeah, this is what I'm working on, and then I was working on these carburetors.
Were you cleaning those, or what's going on?
Yeah, someone left a bunch of fuel in them.
There you go. Some of your coworkers.
My brother and his friends.
Got it.
Here's my brother's bike.
There's another bike?
That's his, my brother's.
Okay. Well, I see
so
what
I'm going to go back into the other room.
Okay. That's cool.
They're doing something, so it's going to be loud.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's where you work at, or?
Oh, no. It's not where I work at.
Okay, all right.
I mean, I work all over. This is just like our electrical shop / vehicle shop, so that we can fix like company vehicles and stuff.
Nice.
I feel like my phone's going to die. Oh.
Well, now I really get to get a good look at your head tattoo there for a second.
Which one?
I don't know. I think it was the serpent.
Serpent.
The serpents. How did you get into getting so many tattoos? Talk to.
Dude, I'm an ink addict, bro. I'm just kidding.
I mean, a little bit. Like,
yeah, but that's the most corniest thing ever. That's like when people wear the ink addict shirts, you know. I don't know. I just like them.
Okay.
And I just started liking them more and more, and then I was like, I don't know. Every time I get a tattoo, it makes me feel better about myself, you know. It's more of like a...
Is it a rebirth?
Yeah, essentially. It's like me like trying to be who I think I am, I guess. It's not really like I wouldn't say it's a rebellion thing. It's more like I don't like the way I look. I'm going to change it with tattoos. which sounds depressing, and it kind of is.
So there's like an endorphin rush happening there.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I would say so. Plus, every time I would get tattooed, I would get drunk, and that was fun.
Like as you're getting it, or before?
Both.
Both. Okay. Well.
Both.
So what's tell me, like, what's the upcoming projects you got going on? I know you're working on the new Veldt, is that correct?
Yeah. I don't know. I'm trying to compile some tracks for like an album so I can send it out. I don't know who to send it out to or what.
You can send it to me, Cody.
Yeah, send it to you. I'll just forever be in Industrial Detroit.
I wouldn't mind that. That's okay. We'll take care of you here.
Yeah, that's if you put me out on vinyl, then I'll stick with you.
We'll see. See how good those tracks are. No, we'll talk about it. You know, the vinyl thing is a possibility. After having done the vinyl thing, I'm kind of over it now. But it's.
I just want at least one that like someone puts money into that I don't have to put money into. You know, like I put out my own tapes and shit before, and like.
Yeah.
It's not as satisfying as when someone actually believes in you enough to the point where like they're like, here's $2,000. I'm going to put out 300 records and hopefully people buy them. But regardless, I like your music that much. And that would be cool.
I think there's probably a way to do white label for less than that, you know?
Yeah.
But
that would be cool too. But I mean, even like someone doing like a full thing, you know, some like album artwork shit, slips in the inside. I don't know, some like real professional crap. That would be fucking sick. But I don't know. I don't see that ever happening unless I do it myself.
Well, we are in a do-it-yourself culture, but we'll talk about it. But yeah, you should. I'm looking forward to the new stuff. I mean, so you're primarily working on the Veldt stuff. You know, you said you're not working on the ambient things, right?
No, I won't do that until I really want to do it. I don't know. I never really, that stuff was always on the side.
Mm-hmm.
I never worked on it unless I wanted to. It was more so I want to focus on creating this thing that I have in my brain. And then like the ambient stuff is like my random release of like, oh, this sounds really pretty. I don't know.
Do you have previous musical training, or do you know?
No, I just taught myself how to play guitar at like 16. And then I started learning piano. I taught myself how to do a couple songs on piano when I was in 8th grade. I'm not very good at either, but then I just started getting into electronic music, and that's where I found myself, you know.
It seems like you know enough to know.
I try to learn, you know. That's
try.
I don't like learn a little bit and then give up and say I know a lot. I want to learn a lot, you know. It's still learning.
Yeah.
You know, like everything. I'm always trying to get better. Every time I make music, especially for Veldt, I would say I try and make it sound better and better and better. More mixed better, you know, more the sound design, everything's clear, you know. Even if it's distorted, I want it to sound good, you know.
Yeah.
I don't want to sound like it's blown up and came off a tape from like 10 years ago, which like I like that sound, but I don't want that to be what my shit sounds like, you know.
I feel like that's been covered by numerous people in the past, that sound.
Yeah.
The blown out tape sound.
It was cool, but it's not my kind of thing.
Well, even, you know, somebody like Bombardier, if you listen to the early stuff, it sounds like that. But he's not doing that anymore, you know.
No. He still redlines like a motherfucker, but makes it sound cool. Like his newest release on Industrial Strength. What's it called? Punisher.
Uh,
I was talking to him about it, and well, I read something about it, then I talked to him, but I read that it was like full redlining, like distorted bass and stuff like that. And then he sent the red line to he used a Y cable and sent that through his mixer, and then sent the undistorted to his mixer and like mix them together, and it sounds amazing.
Yeah, so he's still doing yeah, I remember he was talking about back in the day he would essentially redline the 4-track, and use it.
I mean, that's cool. He still does that. He does that with his Fostex, I believe, to get like a gnarly, fuzzy sound out of it.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. It's I remember meeting him in 2099, something like that. I know. And
I've never met him, so it's funny. That's cool.
Well, I played, or I think I played that show. Like helped my friend's band, played some samples or something at this crazy rave in Pittsburgh where he played at, and that was in 1998 or 7 or something. And then,
time ago.
And then he was still doing all hardware,
I think he still does.
Yeah, well, he's
primarily hardware.
I'm not sure. He's got like some Electron stuff, and then he's got the software stuff. But then I met him later in the D-Land studio because Justin brought him over, and we're talking about that 4-track trick. So we're like, how do you get that distorted sound? Because we just use distortion pedals,
Yeah.
Like, just redline the 4-track. Oh, okay, that's crazy.
It's cool. It sounds good. I remember you guys hosted him 2 years ago or something like that.
Was it the Ann Arbor show or?
No, it was at City Club. And
City Club show. Okay, yeah.
And I was there, and I was like stoked to see him, but then I got too high. My cousin was there, and I got too high. Way too high. Like I had never been that fucking high before. I went into like a panic attack, and I like had to go in the car and like sleep, and I missed his set, and I didn't get to meet him or anything. And
brutal.
It sucked.
It's all right. Well, we'll get him back there,
Yeah.
I was talking to him. What was that show that we did? The guy from New York.
Oh, Antal?
Antal, yes.
Boris, yeah.
Yeah, Boris Antal. That's not his last name, but that's...
Boris Bernacki, yeah.
Yeah, Boris. Yeah, he was going to play that show, but then it kind of didn't line up right. And then pandemic hit. He was definitely on my list to bring back to Detroit, though. So
yeah, I've been wanting him to come back.
He was kind of like the guy that, started the whole City Club shows thing.
Really?
Restarted it. Because it was like 2015 or 16, maybe. And Shan was doing her like leader knocked night at City Club. It was like back to the 80s leader knock sound, And then I messaged her. I was like, hey, do you want Bombardier to play your leader knock night? And she's like, I don't think this, she listened to it, she's like, I don't think this fits with our theme. I'm like, yes, it does. She's like, okay, fine. And so he did, and then Joe saw me. He's like, this is amazing. Can you do more stuff like that? I'm like, yeah, sure. We got people, So that was like, and the set he played, like, he has it on, well, he did have it on his SoundCloud. I'm not sure if he still does. But it was, he mixed old school industrial stuff with his tracks, with his own tracks. That was the set. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So it's like if you took like Veldt tracks and then you're playing like Skinny Puppy over them, you know?
I've done that
Yeah.
at City Club, but it was more Sisters of Mercy.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, so he's definitely a part of history here, you know?
Yeah.
Pretty interesting. Anyway, I think we're gonna wrap this up, right?
Yeah, my phone's about to die anyways.
Okay. Well, thanks for doing the
Yeah.
thanks for doing the interview, and hopefully we'll get to hang soon and do the you know do the do an in real life hanging, and yeah. All right, folks, that's what you get.
All right. Fuck yeah.